Hello. Are we live?
Hello.
That was beautiful. I've never seen that.
Well, nobody has. You get to see my ridiculous, stupid sense of humor. So,
It's beautiful.
welcome.
Thanks. Yes.
So you're Recappa Sedai.
I am.
Also known as Brian.
That too.
In case nobody recognizes you. Before we get started, who the hell are you? And what should all these fine people know about you?
Sure. Well, we co-host Tarvalin After Dark, which is a silly, fun podcast everyone should be listening to. And if you're not, what are you doing?
Right.
So there's that. But I also host Wheel Talk on YouTube, where most of the time I get into drag as Recappa Sedai and make silly videos. But sometimes we do Lego stuff. Sometimes I do stuff as Brian. It's expanding. And we honestly, it's a big show to describe, but we do all kinds of stuff and it's fun. Everyone should watch it.
It's a beautiful show. Everybody should follow Tarvalin After Dark. No, well, yes, Tarvalin After Dark.
Yes,
but also Wheel Talk.
That too. Yeah. Yeah, both. Absolutely.
We have a new episode.
There's no excuse not to.
We have a spooky episode that comes out tomorrow. So spooky.
Oh, Tarvalin After Dark, yes. I was
we recorded it. I swear to everybody, we recorded it when it was before Halloween. So
yeah.
Just saying. Well, because it'll come out in November and people will be like,
oh, they won't believe
anymore.
Us. Right.
But it was a spooky
no, we filmed it on Halloween. We recorded it on Halloween. It was a total Halloween episode.
Totally.
You'll be reliving Halloween. It'll be incredible.
Yes. So
do you love how my lighting is the way you can see through my teeth again? Isn't that fun? I know. I'm so pretty. I'm so pretty in this video of yours.
You have such good teeth.
I know. They're so pretty. Yeah. Happy Halloween. Yeah.
Well, we have so much, on our podcast, we do segments at the beginning that are comedy segments. And normally we do 3 or 4. We had to cut that short because there was so much stuff about the show to talk about on the podcast. And then we barely got to talk about any of it in the podcast. We got through and we were like, oh my God, we haven't even touched any of it.
Yeah.
So what I figured we could do today is talk about some of the things that I know. I was talking before the show with Brian that he has not seen any of the interviews with the cast yet.
The IGN interviews.
Yeah, the IGN interviews with the cast.
I was like, I watched some cast interviews, but
on-set interviews, which are really cool.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't have thought to look for them in IGN.
Well, who would? But I figured we would watch those and then we could break those down. The other thing that we can do is there was another little teaser that dropped today on the Two Rivers.
For real.
So we'll talk about that. So all kinds of stuff that Brian you're going to get Recappa Sedai's live reactions to these things, and then we'll talk about them and break them down.
Honestly, this is the best way for me to get my news.
That works.
It is.
That works.
Because usually I live under a rock, so yeah.
Well, before we get started, though, make sure to like and subscribe if you like. I mean, I guess don't subscribe if you hate the channel, but but like the video, it does help YouTube share this stuff. Yeah, so why don't we do this? Why don't I go ahead and throw up? We'll start with just the Two Rivers clip that came out today.
Okay.
A short one, but I think
How wild is it that we're still getting these drops after? Yeah, that's nuts. It's awesome, but yeah.
All right, here we go.
The old blood runs deep in those mountains. Let's hope it's prepared them for what's coming.
Okay.
I think we watch it one more time.
Okay.
One more time, and then we'll talk about it. It's very short and brief. There's not a lot to it, but here we go.
The old blood runs deep in those mountains. Let's hope it's prepared them for what's coming.
Okay. First reaction.
Was that for Instagram?
Yeah, it's like the Twitter video, Instagram video. So what they've been doing, at least you haven't seen,
I guess I need context for
they're releasing non-spoiler, little clips, what is an Aes Sedai?
Right. I saw
Have you
that.
seen that one? Okay, so
Yeah.
this is like the Two Rivers. What is the Two Rivers? Like, although that didn't really say anything about what the Two Rivers. That wasn't like an explainer. That was more of like.
I mean, is there anything in it except the close-up shots of like Matt and Perrin that we don't already have in the trailers?
No, I'll tell you what was in it. This is my main reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
Rand sweaters, and hey, who doesn't love a good sweater on Rand?
I mean, it's like he's wearing a lamb, like literally.
He's got some great, memorable outfits in the pictures we've seen.
I mean, watch this again. Look at this.
Like that
sweater.
The old blood runs deep in those mountains.
He's literally
telling
wearing.
you,
He's
it
wearing a
look-
sheep.
It looks like Rand shops at LL Bean. I don't know why I think that, but if you remember those catalogs of just like really big, bulky wool sweaters that come out at Christmas, and it's like, and there's also with Rand's bright blue shirt and that big coat he has over it. It looks like it's from an LL Bean catalog. I don't know why I think that.
Maybe that's where they got this shit.
Maybe Rand just loves LL Bean, and every Beltane he gets the catalog. But it looks good. I like it. It's again, we talked about this last night when we talked about my reaction to the new trailer, which is it's a lot of my biggest reactions have already come because a lot of the stuff I was most excited to see I've already seen. It's not that I don't love the new trailer, but like a lot of those moments have been spent emotionally for me already. There's nothing in this that gets me like, oh my God, I haven't seen that yet. Like I've seen this.
Yeah.
Which is
That
fine.
was
It's
pretty
beautiful.
tame.
I'm still excited. It looks great, but I don't, it doesn't feel like it feels like an Insta post rather than a new drop is my reaction.
I think that's all it was. I mean, I
Yeah.
really don't think. I think they're just trying to keep the,
Yeah, totally.
keep it going.
Yeah,
So-
it's fun they're doing it. But as far as, my honest reactions,
You're like, blah.
it's
I get
fine.
it.
There's
I get
nothing
it.
wrong
I
with
get
it. It
You-
looks great.
You clearly hate. Now, what is
Yeah,
your
I just
thought?
hate the wheel of time.
You hate the Wheel of Time. I get
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
What is your thought about them changing Emmons Field to the Two Rivers?
Is that official?
It's pretty official. Like it's on the commentary on Amazon. Everybody's referred to it that way. You haven't heard anybody on the show say Emmons Field once.
I like it because we are coming off of a series that we're going to have to remember so many times as we go into the show is 14 books long, and it's a very big world. And the more choices they can make to make that a little smaller and easier for themselves, I am on board with all those choices. And even if it's as small as taking Two Rivers and Emmons Field and bringing and like melding those two words for a TV show that's going to be less than half as long as the books, like, good, do it. I have no problem with those choices.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Like, obviously, spoilers, guys, for Shadow Rising here. Like, I'm going to talk about spoilers in the fourth book of the series here. But the only real impact, I think, is that to the storyline is what's going to happen if they play out the story of Cauthon Fane and Trollocs and Slayer and Perrin coming back to it is going to be interesting in terms of how do they play out the other villages and like coming to their rescue and like, do they want Perrin to be are there a lot of people living in the wilderness around this little town? Or is this just literally like a couple hundred people and that's it?
But why can't, because in the books, it's you've got Emmons Field and then Tarn Ferry and Devon Ride, right? And those are those are the two that come down with Fail, right?
Right.
Why can't all three of those entities just be part of the Two Rivers and have that same battle, but all of the Two Rivers comes together? Like, it doesn't have to be split.
Right, but there aren't other villages. I guess they're all associated. What I'm saying is they're all associated with this one village, not 4 different villages. Right? So
right.
I don't think it's a huge
how
deal.
it changes the dynamic, right? It's a different.
I think it sounds like a bigger deal than it actually is.
I kind of like making the Two Rivers bigger and because when they talk about Tarn Ferry folk are like this, I like the idea that like those are just northern Two Rivers folk or whatever, and that's a part of their own little Two Rivers world. I I don't know. I was really interested last night to hear you say they were changing the map and some of the names, because I think that's smart. I think that they have to save as much space as they can as they tell the story. And if simplifying it by taking 4 villages and making them all that Two Rivers vibe, I'm okay with it.
Right. Well, so I want to throw a comment up that I saw posted, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So Wolf Brothers said, what about the history of, Elmans? I think it's Emmonsfield.
Aemons.
We'll give you that.
Aemons.
We'll give you that. But in the name and where it comes from. I think the answer to this is, I don't know that we're going to get the Weep for Manetheren speech.
Not in season 1. We're not. She pretty much told us that.
Right.
I think the Aemon's Field thing and whether Matt is Aemon Reborn, I honestly, I'm pretty sure we're not getting that in season 1 because Rosamund did a Q&A where she said, so she was asked, what's your favorite Moiraine speech? And she said, in the books, it's Weep for Manetheren, which implies that in the show, it's not. But I think that history will still probably be in there. I think they're saving it for, I honestly feel like they're probably just saving it for whenever they want to incorporate it later. And we're going to get a lot of that in the show. They're going to be folding things in different order. Yeah. So I'm kind of not giving up on getting that history. I just don't think we'll get the Weep for Manetheren speech in Emmons Field. And that also doesn't mean we won't still get that moment where Matt starts Carion Caldazar. We still might get those moments of like maybe Matt and Egwene are connected to this story and it comes out later.
Well, it'll be interesting because they do talk. I mean, they are talking a lot about the old blood. Like you hear that come up now in the trailer. You hear it come up. So like they're not disregarding what that means.
No.
Right? Like that old blood has to be connected to something.
Yeah.
Now, what they connect it to is something different. So we'll find out about that. It's unfortunate, and I wonder what the creative choice is behind not doing Weep for Manetheren. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to put my head around why would you not want to do that? And the only thing I can come to is that budgetary, like the idea of showing a flashback battle, right, is too much for the first season. Like,
I don't know. I honestly think for a show, storytelling wise, I can think of ways they could do it that would be even more incredible. Because in the books, it's delightful to have Moiraine basically come out and say, you all suck. This is what your ancestors were like, and you guys have not held up the flag. Yeah, like, what the hell? But imagine season 3 opens with Weep for Manetheren. It's not even necessarily Moiraine saying it. I'm just like throwing something out there for how you could tell it different for TV. And imagine, this might be too literal, but Madeline Madden plays Eldraine. And we just see that prologue and we don't see it or talk about it again. There are ways to do that and bring it into the story that it doesn't have to happen there, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
You know, like, especially on TV where they're going to be shuffling so much up anyway, I think for us to assume we're not going to get that history at all is probably unfounded. I think that history will exist in the show. Whether or not Moiraine uses it to tell all of Emmons Field that they're pieces of shit, I don't know if that's how it'll go down. But I think, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to get that in some form, and they may have a plan.
I hope so. I mean, we know we are going to get, well, I don't want to say we know this, but I think it's a strong implication that we're going to see Dragon Mount and we're going to see the flashback to Lews Therin, because there is a Lews Therin casting. So
right,
he's going to enter into the story somehow.
Well, so here's
that makes the most sense.
Okay,
but I don't know if it'll be in episode 1. I can see it being episode 5 or 6.
So I know there's an LTT casting, but I guess my question is there evidence about what that means yet? Or are we all kind of speculating just based on the casting?
No idea as far as I know, outside of we know there's a casting.
Because I'm wondering, like, knowing there's a casting, is it that unlikely that we're getting the sealing of the boar instead of the prologue? Is there anything to say one or the other? Like, we just know there's probably a flashback with him.
Right.
Because there's some other cool stuff we could get that's not the prologue that I actually think it could even be like something in, it could be a meeting of the Aes Sedai. I think there are different ways to introduce the story that they might choose that aren't the prologue.
Well, I think we might see some. And the reason I say that is, again, if you go to Amazon's page, hold on a second. Let me just pull this up and we'll show it.
It's also interesting then that we have an LTT. I mean, I know that was kind of leaked, but I was going to say an LTT and not an Ishii. An official Ishii. And a fishy.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so like this is part right here of their
this is gorgeous.
Yeah, that's the breaking of the world, hypothetically speaking, right? Like, and that's the Age of Legends, essentially. Those are skyscrapers.
I can't believe I haven't looked at this website.
Well, let's look at the map real quick, because you were talking about, see, we have Gildon, 2 rivers, Shadar Logoth in the place where Whitebridge is. Shadar Logoth should be about right here, but it's over here. We have Breen Spring, which is essentially right where Four Kings is. There's Tarvalin, and we have the Kingdom of Tyr, which is interesting because Tyr is not a kingdom. And
oh my god!
Yep.
This is, you're gonna hate me for saying this.
What?
This map is more exciting to me than the last trailer.
Well,
because it's new. It's new. It's something new that's like really giving me new information about what the show's going to be versus the books. Like, I can't wait to go explore that map.
Right?
Like that's something that it's a new turning, and I can really dive into that.
Well, let's take that and let's run with something. I'm going to go ahead and play the clips. I split the IGN clips into the individual characters. So what I thought we could do is watch the character interviews. We'll start with Rand. Okay. We'll watch it and we'll react to just his spot, and then we'll take a look at the other ones here. So let me go ahead and throw Rand up.
Well, Rand is he's a sheep herder. He's a farmer boy, and he's the leader of the sheep. He takes care of the sheep with his father. He follows his heart often, and he makes decisions very impulsively. So I guess other people would call him stubborn, but I would say he's very lovingly and afraid. He's many things. I don't see him as a hero. I try to approach him in a very human way. In my book it says Rand hero, which I don't really like. I just want him to be, at first he's just a sheep herder. He's from the 2 rivers.
I don't know what was so funny with that.
The funny thing to me is that he starts by saying Rand is I love Yosha. I love him for this. I'm not insulting Yosha, but to like for them to be like, who's Rand? He's like, Rand is a sheep herder. He herds the sheep. He watches the sheep with his father. And at the end, he's like, but he's a sheep herder. He watches the sheep. And it just sounds like how men would describe Rand is all I could think. Like men sitting there and goes, he's a fucking sheep herder. What do you want to know? He's a sheep herder. I don't know. The fact that that's his go-to answer is he's a sheep herder. He watches the sheep is funny to me. I don't know. That made me laugh. Because there's so many things you could say.
Right. Well, like, it's almost like he has to like keep it. He can't talk about spoilers. So
I think he was making a joke. I think he was like, he's a sheep herder.
I don't think Yosha's that funny. Yosha, in every interview I've seen him in, is super serious. Like,
yeah.
And that's not bad. He's one of those people that like, he's an actor that like even in the main interview at Comic-Con.
The Comic-Con, yeah.
Yeah, he was like very serious about it. Like,
but he had funny things to say.
I don't know if they were intentionally funny though.
I think that Rand City thing was pretty funny. I grew up in Randstrom, which I found out meant Rand City. And if that's not the pattern, I don't know what is. I was like, okay, Yosha.
Well, okay.
I loved that. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but just like, who is Rand? Oh, he's a sheep herder and he watches the sheep, and he and his dad, they watch the sheep. Like,
what do you think about him saying he's not a hero?
Well, as an actor, how could you not take that approach to Rand?
Well, I mean,
Rand is the last person who would see himself, other than maybe Matt, but Rand, or any hero for that matter, doesn't see themselves as a hero when they're in that moment. And I think as an actor, that's probably an important mindset. Unless you're a Forsaken or someone like that who wants to see themselves that way. But
well, it almost gets old to a certain point that Rand is like, I'm not a hero. I'm not a role model, almost. Like, it's okay, but yes, you are.
Well, and it's an interesting segue too, though, that it really does look like they are leaning even further into the idea that Rand is not, he is the protagonist, but he is not the focus of this story, especially with the last trailer. I love that one of you 5 are the Dragon Reborn. I love that. Yeah. Because it is obvious in book 1 that it's Rand. And I like that they are making this more about the a bigger story right from the beginning.
Well, I still think, and I know everybody is letting them mislead you with the marketing and falling for it. It will still be obvious that it's Rand. I'm calling it right now. Okay.
Well, obvious to us.
I think by episode 2 or 3, you will have a pretty fairly good idea that it's Rand. Not just us. I'm talking about everybody. I think that this is more of a marketing thing up front. I don't think this will be a season-long mystery.
I bet you
it isn't.
We're going to make a bet. I will make you a bet.
You don't want to make that bet.
Season 1 ends with the reveal.
Don't bet me that.
Oh, you know. All right. I don't know if you know, but
I don't know, but I don't think so. I think you'd be wrong. I don't think it's that obvious.
I mean, maybe it's a marketing thing, but
and let's just say
I would like for them to prolong that for people who haven't read the books. I think that could be a fun mystery, and especially if they're introducing the idea that could be Nynaeve or Egwene, wouldn't it be a shame not to like get to prolong that for a little while longer? Because I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's not. I think that it'll be a mystery up until maybe episode 2. I think it's more of Moiraine's ploy to get Egwene to leave. But guys, be very clear. Like, the trailer is 100% misleading. She does not say the 5 of you. She doesn't say that in the
it's
show.
The 4 of you.
Yeah. So like that is they're deliberately misleading people with the marketing, which is Marvel does it in every piece of advertising Marvel has ever put out. They mislead you with the trailers. So like what I've always learned with this is don't trust the trailers. I also think that's actually a weak mystery for them to carry out throughout the season because it's almost it's too obvious. And what confirms that to me is the fact that we have Aiel. Okay. Like the fact that the Aiel are showing up, it's going to say so. Like it's too obvious unless that's the last thing that happens in the season. I don't think it's going to be because I think they're going to be explaining Moiraine and Swan's backstory. Keep in mind, we know there's a casting for a young Swan.
Right.
So I think at some point there's going to be a meeting. We see Swan talking to Nynaeve at one point, like in the first trailer. It's all kind of, I don't think it's that big of a secret, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I think it is for the marketing, but that'll be about it. That's my guess.
Well, definitely for the marketing, they're not going to come out and say, you know, in their posters, this is the Aes Sedai, this is the Dragon Reborn, this is the False Dragon. They don't want to do that. And so, yeah, even if like they're not planning anything special with it, they wouldn't want to market it that way.
Well, and I think it'll be really, I think the way they're going to portray the Dragon Reborn, and this is mostly true to the books too. I think they're going to avoid the white savior trope. I just think that they will. I think they will make the Dragon Reborn very nuanced, which honestly, he is in the books. If we didn't follow most of the story from Rand's point of view, you would think Rand is objectively like kind of a bad dude. Like he does a lot of iffy shit.
He's not great. There's some bad stuff. I would say the white savior trope for me comes up mostly with the Aiel Kara Karn thing. So I'll be interested to see if they change any of that. some of that stuff is a little bit like, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that comes across and how they depict it. But I guess what's interesting to me is if they do lean into the mystery at all, I would think the mystery would be, is it Logain or Taim or Rand,
Right.
rather than is it one of the 5 Emmons Fielders? So that's why what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me, that like they're not actually going to lean into that mystery. However, with what we've seen of Logain, I kind of hope we'll get a little bit of them leaning into that, of like, we expect this could be he definitely believes he's the dragon, but like they actually try to maintain that a little.
See, I think what they'll do with him, I think that Logain will think that he is.
Oh yeah, he will.
And I think they're going to portray. We talked about this a little on Torval and After Dark on the episode that's not out yet, but I think Logain will be. He's going to be portrayed as sort of an antagonist in the first season, but not in an evil way. Like, he'll do things that are bad because he's waging war, but he will think he's doing them for righteous reasons.
Right.
Okay. And I think that he'll feel betrayed by, like, the stabbing dagger thing from your green screen.
Sorry, I had to do that. My teeth were driving me crazy. It was scaring me.
The Gildon dagger that's trying to stab him, that he stops with the 1 power in the second,
which I love.
It was awesome. I think that's probably somebody that he trusts or something, and trying to kill him, like, because he can channel. And so I think in a way he'll be sort of a conflicted, like, he thinks he's the thing, and then he'll be brought down. And I think that would be crushing. But I don't think they're going to actually make people think that he is. Real quick, WL $5. Things will probably be clearer with the help of a wig. I think you're probably right. If I can, my unit, you mean?
Your unit. It's beautiful.
I take such.
Aren't you beautiful? Ah, it's gorgeous. You look just like Galad. Just beautiful and stunning, but also Gowan because the hair color. It's like
also Boris Johnson
and Boris Johnson. I can see it.
Mm-hmm. And also someone from a Costco that refuses to wear a mask.
Sure.
And
yes.
Speak to the manager
too. I can see that.
Let me speak to your manager.
I would like to speak to the manager. Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite character now, Brian.
Yeah, I like her too. She's fun.
Marge.
I have a theme.
We have a new character. We have a new segment on Torval and After Dark that you all need to check out. Marge, the Shadows therapist.
Marge, the Shadows therapist. Yeah, she's fun.
we have our like hosts chat. So I was texting Brian and Jess today. I went to get like my annual checkup at the doctor, and I have a new doctor, so it's like a new practice. And I get there, and the doctor's super nice guy, but he's one of those people that talks really soft. And then every time he would ask me a question, he would go, and I lost it because I started laughing when he was doing it, because all I could think about was Marge, the Shadows therapist. So
I love that. You know what's really crazy and weird? This morning, I'm proving this because I went to the doctor this morning to see my new doctor for the same exact thing. Got 2 shots, and like that's weird that you also went to the doctor for your new doctor. I have a new doctor too.
Today. I got a tetanus booster and my flu shot today too.
I got my flu shot. Yeah. Hey, and I got a booster. Yep.
Nuts.
Crazy.
Okay. We're going to transition back. Let me go ahead and throw up the Matt clip now.
Oh.
So a little interview from Barney. Here we go.
Barney. All right.
Matt is probably seen as the sort of light relief of the books and of the series, but he's much more complicated. I think his sort of inner monologue is very much like, I'm a bad person, like I don't deserve this, something to do with maybe like the poverty that he has and the ideas of sort of reincarnation and the stuff that you've done in a previous life coming into the fore. So yeah, he sees himself as quite a bad person, but his actions are always good. Matt's relationship with Rand is like, they've grown up together, they've known each other since they were kids, and they're very sort of banterous with each other. And yeah, I think I see him as sort of quite stubborn and quite, serious all the time. which I find quite irritating. I think I find both of them irritating. I'm not really sure why I'm friends with either of them. But but they're loyal and loving and good friends to me.
I like him. I feel bad saying that. I like him.
And I don't
so
feel
much.
bad saying it. I really like Barney.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually feel bad, but I don't mean to like, but I like him.
I'm gonna like the new Matt too, but I do like Barney Harris's Matt.
Yeah.
I almost said R.I.P. Barney, and that would be incorrect.
It's an awkward thing, right? Because we're trying to get excited about the show, and we want to get excited about the actors as a part of that, and we are excited about Barney, but it's a little awkward because part of me doesn't want to get too excited about Barney, because I'm in this for the long run, and it's awkward. But I really like Barney Harris a lot, and after watching that, I do think Yosha Stradowski was making jokes in his. I want to go back and watch again because Barney's so serious. Maybe I'm just over.
Well, Rand is he's a sheep herder. He's a farmer boy, and he's the leader of the sheep. He takes care of the sheep with his father. He follows his heart often, and he makes decisions very impulsively, so I guess other people would call him stubborn, but I would say he's very lovingly and afraid. He's many things. I don't see him as a hero.
Okay, I see it now.
I think
that's tongue in cheek.
I think he goes on for a little while about it. I'm like, you're fucking with us. I think he's a sheep leader, and he takes care of the sheep, and with his father, they take care of the sheep together, and he's a sheep herder. I think that's funny. I don't know. It's also, you might be totally right that he's just trying not to say anything, but it sounds funny to me. I don't know.
Well, so, okay, let's go back to the Matt clip for a second, because we could talk about Rand the sheep herder all the time.
Sure, yeah.
So Matt's comments, I think, have drawn the most discussion from people of all these clips. Primarily because he says a couple things that are kind of...
Sorry, Barney Harris?
Barney
Okay,
Harris.
yeah.
So he's one of the things is he talks about the poverty that he comes from. Like, Matt is poor. Like, I think they're playing up the idea that the Cauthons... Now, that's interesting because that's really not true of the books.
Well... I was going to say no, but there's a way you could read it as far as like when Matt sees that treasure. It's not that he's necessarily from poverty. It's that he's from a place where that's like not a thing, that kind of treasure.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's different ways to read it. Because that's my first thought goes to like Matt sees treasure and this is just so foreign to him. It's really exciting. I don't think of him as coming from poverty because he's from where everyone else is from. But that's what I think about is like the idea of riches and luxury is so foreign to him.
Well, so Dorea Sedai, Matt being from the poor side of the river is an interesting shift. The Cauthons always seem to be on the wealthy side in the books. And I mean, again, Abel Cauthon is described as the best horse, like, I don't know, what do they call him?
What is it?
Best
Dealer, I guess. Horse
flesh
dealer, horse salesman.
Yeah, like he understands, like he does well financially. So like
he's very able.
Guys, the Dusty Wheel is
Hey! Oh, hey, Dusty.
Oh, hey
yes,
there, Matt Hatch.
I love it.
Thank you for the wig.
Hi, and we get Boris back.
In honor of Matt donating. Oh, dang it. I deleted the clip. Oh, no, I didn't. Here we go.
It's beautiful.
That was in honor of Matt. Thank you so much. First of all, let's talk about the innkeeper here for a moment.
Yes.
Because he hates praise and he deserves it. How awesome was that like 27-hour live stream he did where he broke the trailer live, right? He interviewed the cast. He talked to Rosamund Pike dressed up as Moiraine on set. That's nuts. And then Rosamund Pike interviewed him.
It was epic. It was so much fun to watch too. Matt did an amazing job interviewing and it was just fun to watch. It was a really nice, I don't always tune into the live stuff online. I do with Dusty Wheel when I can. that was a really special event. That was really cool. And so many firsts, and I thought Matt did an amazing job. And also the cast had really cool things to say. Like really, on top of Matt asking good questions, they had really nice things to say. Daniel Henney was so lovely to the fandom. It was just a really, really nice. It was nice to watch. It was fun.
It really was. I mean, they seem very
on board.
Yeah. Well, here we go. We got Matt saying, I was not ready to be asked a question.
By Rosamund Pike.
You're like, I'm supposed to be the one asking the questions here. But yeah, I thought that was so well done. Nobody is more deserving of getting that kind of experience. Like nobody else is better set up to interview the cast like that.
It looked great. It was seamless. Truly, it was also goes to show like how well Matt's got his act down. It was really well done. The whole thing.
And I don't want to leave. Matt is awesome, but I think sometimes it can be forgotten. Taylor does a lot of work on that show too, and
sure, yes, Dusty Wheel team
general, yeah. I'm super it sounds all sappy here, but like I think as a community, we are blessed to have people like Matt Hatch in that community. And if you guys knew the amount of work and effort and thought that he puts into what he does, and for what he wants to get out, he's legitimately somebody who loves this show and loves this community, and he does such a great job. So all of the props in the world to Matt Hatch.
Absolutely. I was really happy to watch it.
So
it was really fun. That was a fun day. That was cool.
It was awesome. Ooh, we got a good question. I think this one is going to be some talking. So I'm hoping it's Kayed Frank. How would you guys feel about intrinsically trans characters in the Wheel of Time? I've always liked the idea of a male body with a female soul channelers other than
Arengar.
Or Agenor or Arengar. Same thing. Well, actually, it's not Agenor. It's
got to be Arengar.
It's Arengar.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a good question. And I think this is a loaded discussion because it's such a difficult thing, I think, to talk about with the Wheel of Time because it is so gender binary in the way it's described, like the world of it is. I think it's harder, I think, to do it within the lore because the only time we see it, it's a punishment. And I'm not sure that that's the best representation of what it would be about.
Sure. Yeah. I have all kinds of thoughts about this. And I actually, my strong feeling is exactly that. First of all, that the only time we see it in the series is a punishment from the Dark One. And it also happens in a series where gender is a binary. People have argued with me on that, but in this series, the magic system is binary and it's based on gender. Where I push back with a lot of people is I don't think it's a difficult fix. I think we need to see exceptions to the rule where not what happens to Arengar. The way Arengar is a natural thing that happens sometimes in this world. And all they have to do on the show is show us that it's possible, and it will make a world of difference as far as how this comes across. They need to have women who can channel Sidene and vice versa, just to show that it can happen. And I think a lot of people with this issue, not just this issue, but with gay representation or any other kind of representation, people hear it and they think, oh, well, they're going to change the story and make it about that. When that is not the reality, hey, wig. It's the important thing is that we see that these people exist in this world. And I don't think that is a hard thing to do. I think they have to show exceptions to what is set up in the books, but I don't think it's as difficult as some of us think it might be. Does that make sense?
I do completely agree. Real quick, I want to come back to that. Hold your thought.
I could go on about that.
And I don't want to get away from this. Kings and Generals. Thank you. It is not often that you get YouTube channels with more than 1 million subscribers in your chat throwing stuff out there. These guys are huge fans of Wheel of Time, and they make if you are not a subscriber of Kings and Generals, they make literally some of the most interesting history documentary, battle documentaries.
I'm writing it down.
I was a huge fan of theirs before I ever started making YouTube videos. And then when I found out like they were like following and they're big Wheel of Time fans, I love it.
I love that. I have to subscribe after we
huge channel too. So it's like hugely popular. You guys rock. Thank you. They're great. And
that's so cool. I love
they,
that.
They literally make some of the best researched videos you'll ever see, and they're like visually stunning, and they're so much work to make their stuff. And
it sounds like my
so
channel.
Good. Anyways,
I have to look it up. I love that.
Bob Dole.
Bob Dole's here.
Bob Dole. It's November finally, so hype for anytime for the Wheel of Time YouTubers go live. Awesome.
Hey.
Thank you for coming. Just the discussions alone helps refresh my memory of the series. Well, that's great. Hopefully we don't screw up.
Well, I probably will, but hopefully you don't screw
up. You guys are awesome. No, you guys are awesome. So
I'm excited to look them up. They sound great.
They are awesome. So and now I'll flip on a Kings and Generals video and we'll watch that and react to it. No, back to the discussion of trans characters. I think you're right about that. And I've said this, I've been on the record about this, about representation. I think representation is super important. Pandering is not.
Right.
Okay. And so and I think you and I are both in agreement with that. What I do not want is I don't think gay representation, obviously both of us being LGBTQ, I do not think that representation means they put a flamboyantly stereotypical gay character on the show and have him be fabulous.
Right.
And have that be Perrin or something. That is not representation to me. What I think representation is normalizing something that already is normal. Right. So if the show reflects our reality, because it's supposed to, especially this show, right? So if the simple fact that gay characters exist and it's not and it's not weird is the right type of representation. They don't have to be the main characters. It doesn't need to be in your face. It doesn't need to be any of that. They just need to be normal. Yeah. And so often the representation ends up, in my opinion, becoming pandering because I'll give you a great example of this. Okay. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I always watch Big Brother.
Oh my.
Yes. Are you a Big Brother fan?
I've watched the first 2 seasons, but I remember them pretty well.
Well, in Big Brother, in the past, they've done a better job here recently. But in the past, they would go get one gay character to throw on the cast.
Well, yes.
And it was always and I don't say this because there's nothing wrong with this, but it was always the most stereotypical gay person you could find. Does that make sense?
Or at the very least, it had to be a part of the narrative.
Yes, it was always, in my opinion, and I don't mean to label this way, but it was almost like a walking caricature of what people think gay people are.
Well, I think I thought that about every reality TV show back then.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, everyone. I think there was always that.
Well, and so shifting back to the Wheel of Time, I mean, I just mean this in the sense of on the topic specifically of trans characters, like you said, just having it be a thing. And not being a major part of the plot, not being they rewrote the whole story.
Well, and that's that. When you say pandering, that's what I think of is what a lot of people worry about. Is it becomes then, well, what are we going to rearrange to allow this person to be trans? And it's how about nothing? How about you just let them be trans and it's not that big of a deal or an issue at all? And I always bring up the broken earth, but if anyone has any questions about how this is, Talmana's,
I always thought that too. That was my headcanon reading. So just saying.
I love that that's people's headcanon. I never thought of it reading, but I love that people think that. A lot of people think that.
Hold up. Silvertooth. Really? I hope you're talking about Big Brother.
I was going to say, what show are we talking about? Were we talking about Big Brother?
Now, Silvertooth is unfortunately from the awful state of Michigan, and his team got their ass beat this weekend. But I did not know that. I got to meet Silvertooth and his wife at JordanCon, which was a great time. So, by the way, all of you come to JordanCon so we can meet you.
Yes, do that. I was like, wait, one Big Brother?
I think that's what he was talking
There you go.
about. I'm assuming. I'm
I
not
was trying to remember,
following
like, were
that.
we talking about anything else? Because that's epic. That's a big win. Congrats. I like that. I have not caught up in Big Brother in a very long time, but that's a big claim. But I always bring up the Broken Earth because there is a character named Tonki who is everything you want in a character who happens to be trans. And it is mentioned probably twice or once even, and it doesn't matter. And she's just the best character ever. And like, it doesn't have to affect the story at all. It really doesn't. And that's actually for me personally, as a queer person, that is how I prefer my representation, because I don't want people who aren't queer to write stories about being queer. I just want to see that people like me exist in the world. That's all it is for me. So I can't speak for trans people, but I really think the way to do it is you include them in the world. And it doesn't mean, for all the people who are worried about it, it doesn't mean reshaping the wheel of time. It really doesn't.
Real quick. So I will happily go to Columbus for WatCon. This is Flamingo Sedai. Greetings from
Flamingo.
A2. Now, I am not going to read that last part there. I will not say that. But I will say PS Wig. So you did say that. I will not repeat go, whatever that is you wrote. Brian has no idea what you're talking about.
I assume it's the sports. Are you talking about the sports?
Well, yes. I live in Columbus, home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, I love all of the sports equally.
Blue is the color of our rival, which I will not say.
I watched a sports game once.
Oh, a sports game?
I love the sports games. I love all the sports and all the sports games. I like the one where they kick the ball.
That one?
It's fun.
Well, real quick, because we are not even through 2 clips and we are running out of time. So let me go ahead and throw up the Perrin clip. It's a little shorter.
Okay.
Perrin is one of the Two Rivers gang that you meet very early on. He's sort of the gentle giant of the group and like the village blacksmith, really. He's kind of grown up very close to like Rand and Matt, who you'll meet as well. And yeah, he's one of the main characters who you kind of will follow across the journey. I think they all have like something that they need from each other. I think that's really, really what you kind of gauge quite quickly. I think they all have characteristics of each other that they need and require. I think Rand is very sort of headstrong and will always kind of like follow his heart and kind of stuff. But I think Perrin probably more likely to kind of think something through and to kind of question it. But at the end, I think he sort of knows that Rand would always do something out of the goodness of his heart, and that's, I think, why he's such a close friend to him.
What about Matt?
I have an unhealthy obsession with Marcus as Perrin. He to me is so perfect for Perrin.
He's used that phrase in other interviews, the gentle giant, and it just, he embodies that so much. He's so chill and likable and sweet and like, I like him a lot. I loved so much him in the Comic-Con interview. I don't know what he kept saying,
that dance,
man, and I was like, I like this guy. I could hang out with this guy.
He's so soft spoken. Like it's so his normal demeanor is Perrin, and that's like when Ray talked about how they found Perrin, and they like when he announced Perrin, like Marcus as Perrin, they said like something along the lines of the effect of like, we heard him read one line and we knew it was him.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, but I honestly, when I made my video about the Comic-Con thing, I remember saying Marcus just is Perrin, even when he's out of character. He's just like laid back and chill and likable and not bothered. But I also think if you pissed him off, he'd be pissed. I think he's perfect. I really, every time he talks in an interview, I get excited. Really, for all the Emmons Field 5, I feel that way.
Andrew said Marcus will probably be the only main cast member for whom I changed my headcanon to. The other one that has totally changed for me already, I mentioned this on Tarvalin After Dark, is Madeline as Egwene. The more I hear her talk, the more she is Egwene.
She's so Egwene.
Which we'll get to her here in a second. I got to hit this real quick. Lodge Keep, thank you. Thank you both for all you give to the Wheel-Time community. Represent Ty Shar. Hey, I appreciate it.
Love that. Ty Shar.
True blood. Thank you. Any other thoughts on Perrin before I fly through? The Moiraine clip is really long, and we're going to watch that one next. So,
I think I might like all of these characters better on the show than I did in the books, and that's not even a criticism of the books.
Yeah.
That's just to say I think already a lot of things are being improved upon in ways that I'm seeing, and I'm excited.
let me go ahead and throw Moiraine up here.
Swear your oath, Moiraine Sedai.
Moiraine is a woman who you never quite know where you stand with her. It's certainly in our show, she's designed to keep an audience guessing as to her motives. She's someone you always have to be on your toes with. You always have to be reading her on multiple levels, I think. She's surprisingly warm, although she's feared, so that makes an interesting balance because there's a lot of talk about Aes Sedai in the world of the Wheel of Time. There are many people who've heard of Aes Sedai and have varying conceptions of what they are. You know, people believe they're monsters, people believe they're to be feared, people to believe they're in league with the Dark One. Some people believe they're a force for good, and all those rumors abound. And certainly, for instance, people in the Two Rivers, at the point that Moiraine shows up, they've never actually met an Aes Sedai. So she's greeted with a lot of suspicion and wariness and awe, and it's her job to disarm. She is a protector, but she's also an avenger, and she has tremendous power. Moiraine has a mission. I mean, she's the character who comes into our world with a direct sense of purpose and a mission to accomplish, a mission that's been with her since she was much, much younger, and something that many Aes Sedai are trying to accomplish, and she is determined to be the one to accomplish it.
Those frickin' fireballs.
She gets Moiraine.
Oh yeah.
But
I
she
mean,
gets her.
I love her anyway, but all the Moiraine stuff we've gotten is so good. And the Oath Rod, I don't know what it is about seeing the Oath Rod, but I'm so excited to see how that's all going to unravel, what exactly they're doing. Because like you said, never trust a trailer.
Never.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm just really excited to see all things Moiraine in season 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to cherish every Moiraine second we get until she leaves us. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think here's the overarching thing that I think I pull from from the cast. Whether it's the actors themselves, and I think it's a combination of all this. So the actors themselves, the showrunners, and the writing, they all seem to really get their characters.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, like everybody calls me a shill, and it is what it is. I'll own it for whatever. But I've always said I will be very critical of the show if they screw up one of two things. I don't care about plot changes as much. I'll be critical of the show if they butcher the writing, like it's just clunky, bad writing. Okay. And then if the characters themselves aren't them. Like,
I thought you were going to say like specific things in the book.
No, like if they leave this out,
name is pronounced this way, I am out. Sorry.
No, like, but if they don't, that's why I was so worried after the first trailer about Nynaeve just being badass Nynaeve, but not insecure Nynaeve. Right.
Oh,
and they put that to rest because she addressed it. Like, she's like, no, she's super insecure. Like,
yeah,
they all have such a great grasp on who their characters are. And that's a combination of writing, of them knowing who they're portraying. Like, you even heard Barney when he was talking about Matt, like he kept calling it I. Why am I friends with them?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how they are.
And as far as the trailer goes, they're always going to pick the most extreme moments, if they're smart, to get people's attention with a series like this. So yeah, I don't feel able to judge the scope of what these characters are going to be performance-wise based on the trailer, because we're getting extreme moments. And I think we're gonna get some good performances. I like these actors a lot.
I think so too. Let me go ahead and hit the land clip.
Okay.
Lan is he is a warder in this world, and what that means is he's sort of a guardian slash protector of Moiraine, who's played by Rosamund Pike, and he's kind of sworn to her. They have this relationship that is a platonic relationship. There's nothing going on between the sheets or anything between these two, but they are connected very deeply, and they are on this journey together to find the dragon. And so they've been sort of traveling from what we're thinking is town to town to town to find the dragon. And so he is her right-hand man, and he will do everything, including sacrifice his own life for her. And he's kind of the perfect guy. I mean, not saying I'm the perfect guy, because I'm not by any means, but Lan is pretty cool. I think someone that we could all strive to be one day.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love him. He's so well spoken in all these interviews. But one thing I really love that jumps out is that he said the same thing Rosamund and Daniel talked about in the Comic-Con interview, which is that this is a platonic relationship. And the fact that they keep reiterating that makes me think that matters to them as creators of these characters. They like that and want that to be special, and it is so special because I can count on one hand the number of really great platonic male-female relationships that I love on TV. There's always got to be something going on, so I think the idea that they're leaning into that, and it's going to be refreshing, and it's going to be a special kind of relationship that we haven't seen before, maybe on television, is going to be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I love also like they both hinted at in multiple interviews now how tight that bond is and how they feel each other and like all that. Now, my only nitpick here.
Yes.
They got to figure out how they're going to pronounce Moiraine. He says,
you know what? I didn't notice.
In the clip, he goes in the clip from the show. He announces her as, and this is Moiraine, right?
No, I listened a bunch. He says Moiraine.
I don't think he did.
I think he said Moiraine because I listened back a bunch. But I could be wrong because I had to go back and listen a bunch. I could be wrong. You know what I think? I think in an American accent, when you say Moiraine versus Moiraine, the difference is very clear. I think in other accents, it's not as clear. That oi is not as firm, so it's hard when you're trying to. But I do think they're saying Moiraine.
Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. I'm just.
Except it totally does.
Right. All right, time for Nynaeve. This is a short clip.
Okay. Oh,
Nynaeve goes on an incredible journey. She could be perceived as, well, she is very strong-willed, very forthright. She speaks her mind, which I love. She does things her way, much to the dismay of like everyone around her. She becomes really selfless, which I really admire. It's something I'm trying to be better at. Yeah, she's really interesting and unpredictable, and she's such a joy to play.
I love her. That is not my favorite interview about the character of.
No, my favorite is what she said on Dusty Wheel.
Which part of that?
When she said that, first of all, that the character scared her, and as she has grown with Nynaeve, she has learned to be okay with a character being angry and figuring that out and exploring that and not being afraid of that as a woman. And I just thought she spoke really beautifully about that. Because I think, going on TV and just being angry, like, I think what I got from her was she's like, I don't want to just come across as a bitch. I want to be like a real full-fledged character. And I think she meant it in the most like, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like the idea that like, you shouldn't just come across as a bitch if you're angry, but there's a fear of like just coming across that way and learning to be like, no, it's okay to be angry. And this character would be angry. And I'm kind of rambling, but I loved what she had to say. Obviously, I have to go back and listen to it again. But it was good.
Nynaeve is such a complicated character because, again, she's very much like a lot of people. She's very insecure on the inside. She overcompensates for her insecurities by being angry at people, right? Like, or being snappy, or speaking her mind, because that in her mind, that's strength. Like that's what she does to get people to see through her age. Like she'll thump you with a stick, she'll box your ears, which by the way is an awful thing to do to somebody.
I know. I never thought about that until you mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, she's just punching people in the ear." I never thought about that.
She's popping their eardrum.
And you brought it up, and I was like, "That's a good point. What if you just punch someone in the ear?
Let me break your eardrum so you can't.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say about that. I'm thinking about Nynaeve now.
Mhm.
I was going to say that it's also, though, in the beginning of the story, anger is kind of her strongest tactic because people don't take her seriously for anything else. It's sort of like, if she's dealing with someone like Senbui, it's kind of all she has because Senbui doesn't respect her because she's a young woman.
Mhm.
So she's like, well, I guess I have to hit you with a fucking stick. And it's not necessarily because she's like that. It's because she is the wisdom. And sometimes like that makes sense that is what is built into her, because what she's supposed to do, no one listens to her.
Right. Well, I love Nynaeve. She's still my favorite character, always will be.
Yeah, she has taken first place for me.
Let's watch the Egwene clip real quick.
She's very determined and ambitious, and she's a very keen learner, and that's something that I really resonate with Egwene, and I think that's why a lot of people are so drawn to her, because she, is really looking towards the future, and a really admirable quality that she has about her is she's got this incredible sense of duty to herself, but also to society, and so I think that's kind of a constant battle for her, like, do I stay back in the Two Rivers and, kind of live out the life that would work for everyone, make everyone happy, or do I go on to, the world outside and give what I can give to people all around the world? So she's really, you can tell she's got something in her. She knows that she's destined for great things, and that's something that's really exciting about playing Egwene, is that you can kind of feel this electric energy inside of you that excites you for her journey and what she's going to do.
I love her.
I told you, she has taken over. Like, I'm in a reread right now of Eye of the World. Mm-hmm. She is Egwene in my head now. Like, as I'm reading the books, it's her.
Yeah.
I think she's got, again, every single one of the cast so far, they understand their characters. Like, they get it. If that wasn't a great description of Egwene, I don't know what was.
Yeah, I love everything she said. I love that she mentioned Egwene's fire to learn. I think that's something we don't talk about a lot when we talk about Egwene, but like that's always been my thing with her, is she wants to be the best at this thing she's learning. And I think that's really admirable. And I think that ties in, when I'm reading the books, that ties into a lot of like what makes her great is she's always improving on what she's able to do. And I love.
Well, let's even break it down. She said it in a very diplomatic way, but like, let's look at the choices before Egwene here. Go off and become a bad bitch, or stay and become a wife in the Two Rivers.
Well,
like it's, I'm oversimplifying this, but like, she is, to me, she's the normalization of the powerful, driven, intelligent, capable woman, right? And like, and there's nothing like that to me is like, it's not a, there just aren't enough women that pull that off, that are written that way in stories in Hollywood or on television. Like traditionally, we haven't seen that representation. And like Egwene represents it very well, in my opinion. Like she is very driven. She is very capable. That's why I don't want her to be a Ta'veren. Like I don't want them to do that, because it takes away from the fact that she accomplishes this stuff out of
without
her own
plot armor.
Will. Right, without plot armor.
Yeah,
she doesn't.
One of the few. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I agree with all of that. What I will add is at the beginning of the Eye of the World, and I don't think I'm going to feel this way on the show from what I've gathered from the show's Egwene, but at the beginning of the Eye of the World, when Egwene makes the choice to leave the Two Rivers and join Moiraine's carpool, it does annoy me in the books because I don't think her motives make a lot of sense. It to me doesn't make a lot of sense to literally run away from home with. I mean, it was a lot what she chose to do, and was just kind of like, of course I'm coming with you, and it to me comes across very juvenile. And several books later, she has grown out of that. So that's not. I'm not even critiquing that part of the story. I think it gives her an arc, but on the show, I think we're going to get an older Egwene at the beginning who is not making choices because she wants to go on an adventure. I doubt that's going to be her motive. I think she's going to choose to go because she has to. I think maybe that's why she's one of the 4 candidates, if she actually is, for Dragon Reborn.
Right.
I think it's going to be a situation where she has to go, because the Egwene that I'm getting and everything that we've received just feels smarter than that. It feels like she's not just going to run away on a whim. She's going to have a reason.
I think, well, first of all, I don't want to keep perpetuating that, because I truly don't. She is not a candidate. I want to be very clear on this, because it is not. She is not a candidate to be the Dragon Reborn. Only Moiraine may let them think it, but Moiraine might want her because she's powerful.
Well, I mean, as far as Egwene's motive goes.
Okay. I was going to say, she is not in reality a candidate. She is not going to be the Dragon Reborn, just to be very clear to everybody. Like,
sure.
That is 100% not happening.
But I mean, like, what if... Yeah. I actually like, what a great Aes Sedai thing to say. If Moiraine is trying to get Egwene to go, and she says, the Dragon Reborn is one of the 4 of you. And she knows it's not Egwene, but she's not lying when she says that. And Egwene's like, well, I guess I'll come with you. I like that so much better, because it makes Egwene seem smarter. Not, I mean, it feels very young to me in the books when she comes in, she's like, you're not leaving without me. And I'm like, okay, girl. I grow into Egwene. I love me some Egwene. I stan Egwene. But in that first moment where she's leaving the 2 rivers, I'm like, you need a better reason to do this.
Well, so, okay. First of all, we're over time, and I know you have live stream for your patrons coming up here very shortly.
Should be ready for that, but yeah.
I want to quickly, again, for everybody watching, where can people find you? Recappa Sedai or Brian? Like, where do they find your channel? Again, real quick recap. What do you do? All of that.
Sure. Recap of Recappa. Thanks for asking. I do Wheel Talk with Recappa Sedai. Wheel Talk is on YouTube. You can find it. Search Wheel of Time Wheel Talk. You'll find it. It's there. We do Lego recaps. We do recaps in drag. We do silly sketches. We do crazy stuff on Wheel Talk. It's a lot of fun. It's a wild channel. You should be watching it. And also, we're on Tarvalin After Dark. If you're not listening to that, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. I don't know what to say to you. I'm done. I've had it. And other than that, watch Wheel Talk. Seriously, watch Wheel Talk. Watch the Lego trailer. If you haven't watched any Wheel Talk videos, look up Lego Wheel of Time trailer. You'll see some of what we've been making.
I'll say this about Wheel Talk. First of all, it is, for whatever reason, for people that have not ever seen Wheel Talk, like, you are in for something. It is the best kept secret in Wheel of Time YouTube, and it's not really a secret, but if you haven't seen it, it's a secret to you. So go watch it. It's hilarious. It's awesome. Brian is one of the best. Here we go. Check this out. Recappa, are we getting another Aiel Christmas? By the way, that's my favorite. You have to watch
mine
that
too.
video.
That's my
Very
favorite.
Aiel Christmas.
It's still my favorite. That's the one you should look up. Look up A Very Aiel Christmas. That is still my favorite.
So much toe.
I watched it yesterday, actually. That's really funny that came up. I watched it yesterday because I was like, I have to do another one of these, but like, I have to. Yeah, we have to. But I also have to think about what to do. Yeah. Maybe I'll think about it. If we don't, maybe we'll so much toe. We'll have to call a tow truck to carry you away. That's my favorite. If we don't get that in time for Christmas, maybe we'll do like A Very Aiel Valentine's Day or something. We got to do something like that again, because I
was
love Bear and Amis on Wheel Talk. They're my favorite characters. they're
I'm gonna watch it after
so
we get off of here.
mean to Avienta, and it makes me laugh.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for joining. We are going to be, or at least I will be, Brian has to get ready for his Patreon live stream, but I will be in Discord here in my Discord server. So if you want to join and chat with us a bit, just click the link in the description of the video and you can pop into Discord, and we will see you there. But Brian, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. And thank you for educating me on all the things that I've missed since I live under a freaking rock. That was
You
great.
mean a few of the things you missed, because that is not all of them. But
no, I'm sure, but it was still, good.
Yeah. Well, hey,
Thanks
thank
for
you
having me.
again
This
for
was fun.
joining, and we will see you all later. See you in Discord.
Happy Wheel of Time.